Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Gums, and I'm bringing you the Concern Forum. It's a Monday. It's a Monday afternoon, early in the afternoon. And I did something very foolish. I had stuff written out. Um, I typed it up on my computer last night, and I had meant to bring my tablet. And I had so much in my mind when I left the house, I left the damn tablet at home. I just have this on my cell phone, so we will fly with that. I feel very today angry and somewhat apprehensive. Okay? Now, we all know, unless, of course, we live underneath rocks, we all know what's supposed to happen tomorrow. For the first time in American history, for the first time in the history of our experiment, we're putting a former president of the United States on trial. Or what I should say, we are beginning the process of putting a former president of this republic on trial. And I say beginning the process because indeed that's what it is. I mean, this guy has what, about 5 or 6, possibly 7 court cases that he has to go through. Tomorrow is just the first one. Now, let me tell you, and I know I'm going to step on some feet here, but we have to, what's the proper word? Ostracize? Oh, because this is not the old apartheid South Africa. We can't ban parties, right? I mean, you got communists here, you have Nazis here, right? Because this is free America, freedom of expression. I believe that what America needs to do, we need to basically put this Republican Party, mind you now, I say this Republican Party, it needs to be put on the same shelf that people put the Nazi Party on or the sneaker smokers party on, right? Perhaps even the Communist Party. We need to put them on that shelf where we put the outliers. Because over the last decade or so, this Republican Party has done nothing but try to figure out ways to destroy our Constitution. And we can't have that. We can't have them tearing up or interfering with our experiment anymore. We just can't afford that as a nation. You know, I had a skipper when I was in the Navy. Captain, I guess, well, he's probably retired as an admiral right now, Jack Batchelor. I would, I followed, he's the kind of guy that you'd want to follow. And I will tell you, I would follow Jack Batchelor to hell and back. And unfortunately, one night we actually did he actually did lead us to hell, and he led us back. That's the kind of guy he was. I had a nun when I was in the 7th grade, right? Sister Mary St. Raphael, I'll never forget her. If I lived to be 1,000, I would never forget her. And she had that real sweet Irish accent, right? Slender as a pencil, but damn, she could hit. She had a right hook you would not believe. And I was kind of a bookish kid, you know, I was a bookworm. You know, that's 5th, 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade. And she noticed that I was kind of a geek because I was always in the history, had my nose in the history book. And she helped to make me feel proud that I was like a junior history scholar, you know? And we had Brother John LeGrand, you know. I talk about these people because I went to public school for a bit, right? Like nursery school, kindergarten, up until about the 3rd, 4th grade. Everything else, essentially, going into high school, it was all Catholic school, basically. I did about 9 months when I dropped out of school, shortly before I went in the service the first time. I went to Seward Park for about 9 months. But everything else, St. Thomas the Apostle, LaSalle Academy, you know, I'm a Catholic school kid. And I'm taught by these Irish and Italian priests, nuns, monks. The monks we had the Irish Christian Brothers. I can't remember for the life of me, Sister Raphael's, what order was she with? I can't remember that. But it wasn't Mary Seton. It was, I know, I remember it wasn't that order. But it's just the thing, you know, these people, these, you know, ethnic people, you know, they're in Harlem because, you know, communities change. Generations change. But these people basically giving their lives trying to make my life and the life of all of us in Harlem, you know, a little better, right? Believe me, I always tell people I'm a former Catholic, right? Beaucoup, as we used to say during beaucoup, a lot with the Roman Catholic Church in America I do not agree with, which is why I'm a former Roman Catholic. But I will never take away the fact that you have good, dedicated people just trying to help. You know? I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, I used to see these firemen, right? You know, big ass, you know, tough Irish guys and Italian guys, right? Running in the tenements, rescuing little black kids, you know. See, when I think about New York and how it was, those are some of the things that I think about, right? Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, what the hell's that got to do with Trump beginning his trial tomorrow? Well, I'll tell you. You have to judge a man by what he says and by what he does. Now, the folks I just called, you know, I just mentioned to you, they all have one thing in common. These were people that were about something. These were people that were about giving themselves to others. But we're not talking about that, as far as tomorrow is concerned. And another trip for you. I started out in life as a Republican. I came out of a rock-ribbed black Republican family. And another bit of information, at the time I was coming up, when I was a little kid, that was not a big deal. I think the majority of Harlem, they might have voted Democratic from time to time, but they were mostly registered as Republicans, black and quite a few Hispanics. So when I look and see people like Lindsey Graham coming on that disgusting, vile network, Fox, literally crying in his beer, "Oh, please send Donald money." I don't understand it. This is the same guy when Donald ran the first time in, 2016? And he says, Donald's a nut, he's a racist, he's a bigot, and if we make him our nominee, he will destroy the Republican Party and we will deserve it. Now, here he is, 2023, on the damn media, crying like a baby, saying, send Donald money so he can pay his freaking lawyers. And I'm trying to figure out what in the hell caused this. And to hear these Republicans across the country, not all of them, but the majority of them, yelling and screaming, "Oh, this is, un-American. This is, there'll be blood in the streets. Dogs and cats will be committing sodomy on each other. The world will split in half." And I'm like, what the hell are you clowns talking about? We got this crazy woman from Georgia. She's coming up here tomorrow. She's supposed to be up here tomorrow. Georgia meets New York. I mean, I don't think this woman can find her way through a dictionary if it fell on her head. This is the same woman that says that Jewish people are flying around in spaceships, shooting laser weapons at our forests to set them ablaze. This is the caliber. This is the intellectual caliber of today's Republican Party. Jesus Christ, I know I will never get any awards for being a bright guy. Okay? Trust me. And I know, down through the years, I have done some really wacky things. But there's no way in hell that you're going to tell me that this Republican Party of today is fit to guide the destiny of this democratic experiment called the United States of America. I'm sorry. I think you'd have to be a lunatic to accept that. I really do. And, this guy in Florida, what's that governor's name? DeSantis. I mean, this guy, anytime he hears a word he doesn't like, he wants to ban it. My God, he's running neck and neck with Hitler and Mussolini about trying to ban thought. Think about that now. We have governors in America that think it's okay for them to ban thought. And then they'll turn around and they'll talk about big government socialist Democrats. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, man, you're telling a woman she can't get the physical treatment that she needs for her body? You want to be in the bedroom? My God, the Republican Party even wants to tell us who to sleep with. And they're the ones that are going to preach to us about big government. And I guess the point I was trying to make when I talked about my old skipper and Sister Rayfield and the monks and priests and what have you that taught me, I guess the point that I was trying to make, the Republican Party is going through this great brouhaha behind a known thug. We are trying to hold an American citizen accountable for his crimes. And the Republican Party wants you to believe, oh, there's just a witch hunt. Oh, I don't know. Was it a witch hunt when they went after Dillinger? Was it a witch hunt when they went after Capone? I mean, everybody was, tax evasion? Remember, all the bodies that Al Capone stacked up, he was never punished for any of that. But they got him on tax evasion, but they got him. Now with Donald Trump, since this guy has become a man, or put it this way, since he became an adult, he has been playing fast and loose with the laws of this country. And I'm going to say something, I know I'm going to piss some people off, but what the hell? I'm a native New Yorker, right? You cut me, I'm going to bleed 125th Street. But you know something? The powers that be, the so-called elites, the movers and shakers in this town over the last 60 years, they bear a part of the responsibility. Because from my time of awakening, 13, 14, no, well, maybe 10, from the time I was about 10 or 11, Fred and Donald have gotten away with more stuff, right? And they were never held accountable. And I would say to the Republican Party, don't you think it's about time? Don't you think that he is due? I mean, this is not some kind of phony case. He took money to pay off this young lady. Actually, I think it's supposed to be a couple of young ladies. And he basically put out money to make sure that people didn't find out about it before the election. That was part of his campaign, to use money to lie to the American people. And that is illegal. And you have the Republican Party basically screaming, oh, this is just a witch hunt. Listen, when are you going to hold Trump accountable? That's the problem with the Republican Party. You don't want to be held, you don't want anybody on your side of the fence to be held accountable. Now, are Democrats saints? Hell no. But I'm going to tell you something. The Democratic Party, that's one of their problems. You know, somebody breaks wind, you know, they fall on their knees begging the country for forgiveness. You know, Bill Clinton had an affair, and he wound up losing his law license. What Trump did, he basically lied to the American people. And there's a big difference there. Because, put it this way, I heard some Republicans say, oh, well, this is something that it really doesn't matter. So why should we bring down a former president? Well, listen, apparently it sure as hell mattered to Donald. And you know Trump, okay? I mean, he's not going to put out a nickel if he don't have to. But what are we talking about, 125 grand, 150 grand? I mean, whatever. It meant that much to him that he had his lawyer Cohen, handle it. And that's something I've never been able to figure out. And I have read the law. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I have a basic, how Sherlock Holmes used to say it? I have a basic American guy's knowledge of everyday law, of the basic rules and regulations, right? Well, I've never heard of the guy who's committing the crime for someone else. I never heard of him going to jail, but his boss remains scot-free. I've never seen that before, but that's what happened here. And I heard another Republican talk about, oh, well, Cohen just wants revenge. Ain't he entitled? I mean, come on, folks, let's get real here. We're human beings. Revenge, justice, it is what it is. Trump committed a crime, and now he's being held accountable for it. And then this thing with what's next on his agenda? Ah, yes, the top secret documents. You know, he could have just said, oh man, between me and my damn staff, we really screwed this one up big time. You know, we screwed the pooch, and I'm sorry. He could have said that. That would have probably wiped out the whole thing. But he refused to turn the documents back. No, they're mine, they're mine. Come on, man. Look, I would say to the Republicans, if you want to go to the mat for someone, you can't find a non-thug to go to the mat for? This guy DeSantis, the one that wants to tell everybody what they can and can't say, right? Come on, he wants to be president. Any damn fool can see that. Now, whether or not he's still going to run, I have no idea. But we do know he wants to be president. And what does he do? Well, I'm not going to do anything with the extradition if it comes to that. Okay, genius. You want to be president of the United States, and you are declaring to the world that you will not obey the Constitution of the United States. Really bright. Way to go, genius. But see, this is the type of insanity that the Republican Party has been vomiting up on the feet of the American public. And it has to stop. It must stop. And I thought of something on the way over here. I was looking at my cell phone, and you could buy movies, look at movies on your cell phone. I came across Nelson Mandela. And I caught a little bit of it. I wondered about this man. You know, I've wondered about him in the past, but I mean, all of this stuff with Trump and talking about leadership, talking about integrity, it made me think of Mandela again. I don't know, you know, I don't care what your religious, spiritual. I just think sometimes it's a damn shame that it seems the Lord or fate, whatever, it takes away the best people at times when we need their inspiration. It's just like I miss Nelson Mandela. I also miss George Carlin. You know, but they did something there in South Africa. I mean, I'm sorry because it seems like they're going through a very rough patch since Mandela passed away. But I think the basic premise is good. Some type of, you know, commission of reconciliation. I think that that's what we need in this country. We need to set up truly, and I'm not talking about just any, you know, BS. You know, you looked at me funny and I didn't like that. And no, I'm not talking about that kind of crap. I'm talking about something real here. I'm talking about just like they did in South Africa. Well, I mean, you know, an American way of doing it, but their premise of commission of reconciliation. I think that a board like that, a commission like that, a committee like that, whatever you want to call it, I think that that is something that is necessary to ensure the survival of our democracy. Why do I say this? Because until we get the history of this country, until we get it out of our guts, right? Until we upchuck it out, put it on the table, look at it, say, this is why this is this and that is that. Until we face up to it, to who we are as people and as a nation. I just don't see this experiment continuing to a successful, conclusion. Because, and Trump and this whole business with him, it's a perfect example of why we need to have a committee of reconciliation in this country. Because as long as we have this big hole in our gut, I say hole, I don't know, maybe an infection, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But as long as we have this thing, this whole ethnic, racial thing, we're going to keep being put in a position where the Donald Trumps of the world are always going to use our past to basically destroy our future. And that's why I believe that we must have some type of committee of reconciliation. I think that one of the problems, a lot of white Americans don't, you have some that do know and understand their American history, but you have so many that don't, You've had for so long people in charge of the textbooks and how they're written, what they choose to leave out. I mean, how many people know about the 54th Massachusetts. And I believe what was the name of that fort outside of, was it outside of Charleston? That the 54th all black Massachusetts militia unit attacked, taking horrendous casualties. But the stories of their bravery when they crossed the country. How many people know about that? How many people know that black and Hispanics, well, at that time you're talking Spaniards and Portuguese and Africans, were the first settlers here in America on what we call America's East Coast. How many people know that? In a place called, you listening to DeSantis? In a place called St. Augustine in Florida, 1565, which, by the way, that's before the Mayflower. But how many Americans really know that? How many Americans know that the reason that the 13 colonies were able to grow and survive and grow was because Native Americans basically saved their lives, taught them how to eat, taught them what to eat. How many Americans know things like that? How many people know that the first president of Mexico that basically chased out the Spaniards was a half-black slave? Excuse me, child of slaves. How many people in America know that? How many people know that it was the black folks in Haiti, that place that unfortunately a lot of Americans probably, oh, those bunch of clowns, and they're terrible people. They can never get their stuff together. Well, those terrible, poor people basically got you 1/3, a little bit over, about 1/3 of what you now call the United States. How many Americans know that? Yeah, Louisiana Territory, right? You know that part of the country that Lewis and Clark explored, along with a huge, big black guy named York? But before that, how do you think all that happened? Started off being French, got into Spanish hands. It went back to French hands. Napoleon wanted to build a great Western empire here in the New World. All set to do so. He was going to bring slavery back to Haiti. Folks in Haiti said, ain't going to happen. We ain't going to let it happen. The blacks in Haiti, one of the only people that actually defeated Napoleon, because they whipped the hell out of the French. And then after that, Napoleon's being impressed by Britain and the Habsburgs. What was that? Germany, or the Prussians actually at that time, right? So he needed cash, needed it quick. And he told Tom Jefferson, said, hey man, listen, them black folks in Haiti did me a real number. So I can't, the idea I have of having a Western empire, I need money now to fight the British. So do me a favor, take the Louisiana Territory off of my hands. I'll sell it to you dirt cheap. What is it, like 3.5 cents an acre? Think about that. All the territory from New Orleans all the way to the Pacific Ocean, from Louisiana all the way to the Pacific Ocean. 3.5 cents an acre. Greatest real estate deal in history. Oh, the Trumps would have loved that one. Yeah. And Jefferson, he didn't know what to do because he was one of those strict interpreters of the Constitution, but hey, here's a chance to double the size of America. And he said, to hell with it, I'm not going to let that pass. So he, what's that word that they use now? He extrapolated and stretched out the meaning of certain passages in the Constitution, and he went on ahead and bought the damn territory. And that's how we wound up basically having the other half of the United States. And then that portion that was still belonging to Mexico, well, we fought Mexico, we snatched that from them. But yeah, it all starts with that Louisiana Purchase. Yeah. But how many Americans know about that? How many Americans know that Jackie Robinson was not the first African American to play professional baseball? He was the first African American to return to professional baseball in the United States. Yeah, black folks have been playing baseball from the beginning in the majors, but a gentleman's agreement was reached. When was this? Sometime around the 1880s, 1890s. As a matter of fact, baseball fell victim to so many other social aspects of American life, because that was during the time when they brought up, they started the whole Jim Crow thing. And there was a gentleman's agreement reached that at that time, Negroes would not be admitted into professional American baseball. Well, see, how many Americans know that? And see, what happens in a situation like what we have here, you find demagogues like Trump and people like him who take advantage of our lack of our own history. And these people use that lack of knowledge to basically cause a lot of grief, a lot of pain. That's why we need what they attempted to do in South Africa. I guess everything, unfortunately, a lot of things didn't work out because Mandela did not live long enough. But I think the premise is a good one. Because we have to cure ourselves, right? I think Lincoln also had that same type of idea. I believe that he would have shot for some type of reconciliation commission or something of that nature if John Wilkes Booth had not assassinated him. Because we cannot allow ourselves, we can't allow demagogues, we can't allow a political party, right? Right now, the Republican Party is basically, it's a fascist party. And if you don't have to take my word for it, listen to their leading spokespersons, right? What's her name? MTG, the wild woman, the anti-Semite Congress lady from Georgia. Listen to some of the things that she says, right? And what we have done, we put ourselves, we have ourselves in the position now. You have Republican senators, Republican congresspeople who are more exercised, more hyper, more stone cold mad, more stone cold crazy, worrying about a guy that was paying hush money to strippers who was sitting on top of our most top secret documents, who tried to get the head of a foreign country who is our ally to talk dirty about his opponent for the presidential election, taking money that was meant for this foreign leader, our ally, to protect his country from our Russian adversaries. And he wants to go to say, yeah, now go and tell people some dirty stuff about Biden and his family. And this is what the Republican Party wants the American people to tear up our streets behind. And see, this is, what is so crazy about it is the fact that Trump has to stand trial. Why should Republicans object so much to an American citizen that the law believes has been guilty of breaking the law? Why don't the Republicans want this man to go to trial? Why don't they want Donald Trump to go to trial like any other American? I don't know. Maybe I'm pretty damn well sure he ain't, but he could be innocent. I think it's great that we live in a country where you have the right to prove your innocence. So why is it that the Republican Party doesn't want Donald to prove his innocence? Why don't they want Donald to remove the clouds from over his head? How come every chance that we have to find out, is Donald in cahoots with foreign adversaries? With our top secrets? Okay, there might be legitimate reasons why he thinks he can just take top secret documents and stash them somewhere and keep them. And when somebody asks for them, he says, no, they're mine. I'm keeping them. Maybe there's some rationale behind that. Maybe he's not working as a puppet for Putin. I don't know. All the stuff I saw and heard when I worked Intel with DIA, maybe it's phony. Maybe it's false. So why don't you let the man go in front of a jury of his peers and say, hey, I'm going to fight to have this cloud removed from the top of my head. I am not going to allow this to follow me through the history books. I want my day in court. Ain't that an American thing? You always hear these guys, they might be gangsters or, big financiers that pull one too many fast ones. What do they always say? I demand to have my day in court. Well, Donald's going to have his day. So what the hell is the beef? Seriously. Nobody, this thing about, they're out to get him. Listen, pal. You're talking about a face that's known throughout the whole civilized and even parts of the uncivilized world, right? It will be damn hard to set Trump up or to frame Trump on anything. Let him go to court like anyone else. And if he can, he proves his innocence, well, he should be happy. Because he knows as well as I do. He will spend the rest of his life dancing down 42nd Street. Ha ha ha. They thought they had me, but I'm not guilty. Right? You know that's what he's going to do. So give him his opportunity to do that. Let him have his day in court. And I'll tell you something. When he runs that line about, what is it that he says? They're doing this to me because they, they also wanted to do it to you, or some nonsense to that effect. Well, let's be real about it. You're talking about a big, rich billionaire, okay? Believe me, the average Joe or average Jane will never in their life be able to accumulate the legal firepower that he can afford. I mean, this guy goes throughout the red state of America with his hand out, soaking millions of dollars, usually from working class white folks that really cannot afford it. Which is another thing I think is a damn shame, quite frankly. Because I don't think it's right to sucker people in. And that's what Trump has been doing. But there is no question that Donald, he doesn't have to worry about court like the way you do or the way I do. Because he has the legal firepower, he'll be able to protect himself. And remember, his biggest danger is his own damn big mouth. And you can't hold the Democrats or progressives or liberals, you can't hold us responsible for your big mouth. Because you always got to be the big cheese, see? And you've been pulling this crap for over 50 years, and it's finally caught up with you. It's called, what's the word, kismet, fate, right? Fate has finally caught up with you. What goes around comes around. So I kind of, I resent the nonsense that the Republicans keep spewing out. Attacking the the district attorney, attacking his wife. I mean, I was brought up in America, okay? I was brought up with the idea that when you would publicly attack law enforcement and threaten law enforcement, you get a one-way ticket to the slammer. But I know why they're letting him get away with it. But believe me, if that were you or me, yeah. I would definitely, if I did stuff like that, publicly, threaten. I mean, this is more than, getting on TV or going on the social media saying the judge is a jerk. No. Trump has actually threatened the district attorney. And just him talking about the guy's wife can be perceived as a threat. Hell, if I did something like that, I'd be sharing the cell with somebody named Omar, right? 6'5" and in a very angry mood. And that's the same thing that would happen to any one of us. But he's Donald. I really despise these people who have been given everything and still complain. That's just like this guy, what's his name, Hawley, all right? This young senator from Missouri, right? He's writing some book, or he's written some book about manhood because he feels that because men, in other words, men, we don't have society's permission to beat our women upside the head anymore. And yeah, I'm sorry, folks. That's another part of reconciliation in this country. Yeah, you used to basically, in so many words, with a wink and a nod, there have been many guys, abusers, who have basically gotten away with abusing their spouses, abusing their girlfriends, date rape, all kinds of crap. And Senator Hawley feels that because it's much more difficult than it was 50 years ago or 40 years ago for men to get away with that kind of stuff. He says that somehow we're not men anymore. He thinks that because a lot of men in this country have understood that being a man doesn't mean that you have to just totally forget all about human sensitivity, right? Like a man never cries. Well, nowadays we have come to learn that we are men because we have the ability to cry, see? And that doesn't sit too well with old Josh Hawley down there in Missouri. But I often wonder how in the hell this guy, Ivy League elitist, look at the schools that he went to. I mean, God, he's even gone, if I'm not mistaken, he even went to England, to Oxford, right? Never stopped by a recruiting office, never put on the uniform. Now, am I saying that any man that never went in the military should not be in public office? Well, I'll tell you, I'm human like anybody else. I have my own personal likes, dislikes. But I would never say that, well, because this person never went in the military, they shouldn't be in public office. But by the same token, don't tell me, who went in the military and sacrificed and risked my life, and a couple of times almost lost my life while in the military serving my country. I don't need no damn lecture from someone like you about patriotism and about manhood. I think that that's a bit much. And that's one of the problems that's wrong with this country. And for him, to see him sit up there, and what's the other guy in the House from Florida, the one that I can't think of his name right now, the one that supposedly the Justice Department is still looking at him for underage trafficking of girls. Yeah, and he never served in the service either. Rich kid down there in Florida, and people like that, they have no business trying to instruct the rest of us about patriotism and manhood. I think that is stupid. Okay, it really is. Now, I will be honest with you, and I will tell you that there was a time in this country, not that long ago, within my lifetime, so we're not talking ancient times here. I'm old, but I ain't that old, all right? But there was a time when if you ran for public office, or if you wanted to try and get elected, people wanted to know what kind of service record what kind of service record do you have? Now, you might have a damn good reason, like Hubert Humphrey. He was a great senator, good man. He didn't serve. in World War II or Korea. But he had, what was it, some kind of, I think, a kidney ailment or liver ailment, something like that, something that physically inhibited his ability to serve in the military. And people, they understood that and they respected that, right? But no, I'll tell you straight up, if you were just a regular Joe Schmo between the ages of 25 and 40, and you wanted to run for public office, and you were as fit as a fiddle, but you had no service record, no military record, hell no, chances are you ain't going to get elected. Now that's just the way it was. Okay? I'm not being judgmental. I'm just telling you, that's the politics, that's how it worked in this country. In 1959, 1960, I was thinking all the way up until about, I don't know, give it 1970. You had better have a military record, and it better be a good one. If you were a white male with no military record, and you were in good health, people would definitely think twice, 3, 4 times before they would, bother to vote for you. Because Americans really used to, and that black community, white community, Latino community, that's just the way it was, man. Asian community, that's the way it was. So my time runs short. So basically, that's what I believe. I believe that this whole business with Trump and the Republican Party, not only sticking by him, but trying to crucify the rest of us that feel that he should be held accountable, I believe that some type of reconciliation committee, I think that would go a long way to solving a lot of this unity in this country. Because you would be able, it would go a long way to stop people like Trump from using our history as a weapon to divide us. See? And I think that that's what we need in this country. I think that we all need to be held accountable for what we don't know about our country's past. And I think maybe a little forgiveness all around might not be a bad idea. So folks, we will see what happens. I believe I'm going to try and get down there around the court tomorrow, because this is history, and I'd like to see it up front. So, thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your week, and take care of each other. And we'll see you same time, same channel. This is the Concerned Forum, and have a great day.
Wow, Bob, you're just on time. Oh,
Yeah.
you want to see the time of year?
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah. Getting better.